the last thing I wanted to do with Dave here is I wanted to get back to a bit of his voice talent. And I wanted to put him on the spot, but I also know that a real voice actor would like a bit of preparation time if he at least could put some thoughts around in his head. So I reached out. Go ahead.
No, I said I was thinking about it.
Okay. So I reached out. I said, I would like to get your vocal take on a few different fun things in the horror genre. And luckily he was about it. So I think the first one is a steady transition from our last topic. So I was curious, since we haven't had any official, confirmation of anyone rebooting Nightmare, if Nightmare was rebooted and they came to you and said, Dave, we got a great physical actor for Freddy, but his vocals are shit. We want you to dub Freddy and we want you to give him your spin on the Freddy voice. Do you have something that you could spit towards us as far as the Freddy voice that you would do?
You know what? I think the best thing to do is my inspiration would come from, like, when Robert Englund was doing the Freddy voice. Ironically, now that he's 70 years old, or 72 or 3 or whatever he is, he actually can do the Freddy voice almost to the pitch that they lowered it in the early Elm Street films. Mm-hmm. But when you watch the original Elm Street trailer from 1984, when it gets to the scene where Nancy's got the phone up to her ear and the tongue comes out of the phone and says, "I'm your boyfriend now," that actually is before they've lowered Robert's pitch. So all you hear is, "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy." And it sounds very strange. Sounds very weird. It's like, that's not intimidating at all. But of course, in the movie, it's much deeper, right? Mm-hmm. So I think I would take inspiration and I would say to the producer, I would say, that's where we got to go. Like, we have to go back to that level of dark and very subtle with it. Like, and Robert was doing that a lot in the first Elm Street and the second Elm Street. So for me, I mean, it would be more like, do you remember, in Elm Street 2, when he's like, where would I go with it? I'm trying to, just something that's just like, "You are all my children now."
Damn.
Now, this is God. Like, just something that is so visceral and so intimidating. Nothing, the voice has to match, because my Freddy would be very very in the dark, in the shadow, right? Going back to what Robert did. Now, they lowered Robert's voice, but that's what it sounded like. Mm-hmm. It was, "This is God." Mm-hmm. Like, whatever it was, it's like, oh my God, like, the uncanny valley is just so weird and eerie there with this evil demon or whatever. In the later sequels, he was a little more whimsy and kind of up, "Hey, Alice." He was kind of up here a bit because he was cracking the jokes. He's got to go down, like that great moment in part 2 when he's like, "Jesse, we've got a lot of work to do, you and me." Mm-hmm. It's so down here like this. It's so guttural and bassy. Again, that's lowered, but it's so intimidating. "You've got the body and I've got the brain," and he peels it. That's where my Freddy would have to be, is somewhere in there. But that also, the script allows him to be that way. If the script plays the character where he's got to be cracking one-liners every 5 seconds, like in Freddy's Dead, it doesn't give him the opportunity to do that. So the script has to be frightening, he has to be genuinely frightening, and they have to go back to that sort of voice. Mm-hmm. Something down here, something down there.
I like that. That's awesome. That makes complete sense.